Good evening, and thank you all for coming to tonight's town hall meeting. I'm Gabby Gaudet, the racing analyst and TV host here at the Maryland Jockey Club, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight to host this very unique and special event. It gives us the opportunity to really listen to leaders in the Maryland racing community and the breeding community, and for you, the public, to be interactive tonight as well. I just wanted to take a moment to go over the format for this evening so that everyone is well prepared and well informed. We will begin with 3 speakers this evening who will discuss a range of topics about the current state growth and future of Maryland racing. Our speakers will include Chief Operating Officer of the Stronach Group, Tim Ritvo, Maryland Racing Commissioner Bruce Quaid, and President of the MTHA, Tim Keefe. Following those, our 3 speakers this evening, there will be prepared remarks from Executive Director of the Maryland Million Limited and Maryland Horse Breeders Association, Cricket Goodall, as well as President of the Maryland Horse Breeders Association, Josh Pons. After all of those, after our welcomed guests do conclude, we will open the floor up to questions. We do ask that you please limit your questions and be succinct and concise there. Limit your questions to 1 question per person so we can get to multiple concerns and questions here. I'd also like to stress that tonight is about encouraging informative and productive discussions here. We all meet here, hopefully, with one goal, and that's for the continuity, growth, and success of Maryland racing. Now to welcome our first speaker of the night, Mr. Tim Ritvo.
Thank you, Gabby. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. I appreciate that everybody is so interested in our industry. To see the attendance here gives me a good feeling that we definitely have participants that are really concerned about moving forward. I'd like to take a minute just to mention a few people that Gabby already mentioned, but obviously the chairman and the commissioner, Bruce Quaid, Tim Keefe, the president of the HBBA or the MTHA, the Horsemen's organization, PJ Campbell, who's our vice president of the Stronach Group, and was kind enough to come up from Gulfstream, Cricket Goodall, Josh Pons, and Dave Joseph, our PR guy. Before I get started, before I get into the reason that I called this meeting, I want to talk about why I took this assignment here in Maryland. And I want to talk a little bit about my background so you understand where I come from and who I am. I'm the CEO of the Stronach Group. I do not have an MBA in business. I wasn't plucked out of some college and chose to run this company for Mr. Frank Stronach. He chose me because I'm a horseman. My background is I was a jockey. I was a trainer. I was the vice president of the Horsemen's organization. So my concerns with the horse industry and the racetrack are in one. I'm a guy that was brought in to try to bridge the gap between the Horsemen's organizations and the racetracks to work as one. The great history of Maryland racing, the tradition, was very important to Mr. Stronach. We weren't happy with the developments and the way the industry was trending in the Mid-Atlantic. We really felt that the Maryland racing could achieve national prominence like it once did. We wanted to compete and complete a review of the entire system. What was working, what wasn't working, what we could do, and what we could do better. Obviously, we spent the last 10 months looking at these components and have found lots of issues. A lot of them are our fault. Some of them aren't, but most of them are, and we'll take the responsibilities where we see. I also want to be clear that the Stronach Group is really a different company than it was 6 years ago. We are a financially responsible company that is now a private, unlike the past, where we were part of a public company and handcuffed on some of the things that Mr. Stronach wanted to do. Today, we look at our business as a true partnership with the horsemen, the breeders, our employees, always willing to open our books and to share the complete story. Under the leadership of Alon Ossip, our CEO, we not only view to be a financially sound company, but how to lift up and grow the entire racing industry. We all need to share in the good, the bad of our business, be aware of all that's happening and how we can work together to be much better, to make strides to improving the game that we all love. I can stand here tonight and tell you that we may not always agree on everything, but our intentions are to improve the business so that Maryland racing is a leader not only in the Mid-Atlantic, but on the national stage. You may not always agree with Mr. Stronach's vision, but his intentions are always about leaving the game, this great game, in better shape than when he took it over. We will make that happen if we all work together. He's the most favorable racetrack owner in the country when it comes to wanting to improve the game. I challenge that to anybody, and hopefully everyone else knows that too. Okay, the reason I thought it was important to call this meeting is all that I see in the industry nationwide and all that I read says that we must pay attention to our progress. Although things are good, we can slip backwards very fast. I talk with a lot of people individually. I thought it was a good opportunity to talk to everybody at once and collectively. I'd like to talk about a few things that are going on in the industry that scare me, and one of the reasons I called this meeting. I see things like in Pennsylvania, Delaware, West Virginia, Iowa, Canada, Massachusetts, Virginia, reducing days, attacking slot revenue. Massachusetts this year ran 3 days. They applied for 6 days next year, while the ownership of the track gets 100% of the pari-mutuel revenue. Racing is destroyed there. These are things we do not want to see happen. Everywhere racinos come into racing, racing gets put on the back burner. I know there are people in this room probably that are unhappy when Maryland tracks didn't get slots. Believe me when I tell you this, we are better off without slots at our tracks from a racing perspective. Uncoupling in Florida is a good example of what's happening. I know Florida really well. I lived there for 30 years, and I ran the racetrack for a period of time before PJ took over. The dogs were granted slot parlors. All the pari-mutuel facilities down in the south were granted slot parlors. And basically what has happened in that time is dog racing is trying to be eliminated. They're trying to decouple, and there are racetracks, not ours obviously, that are trying to decouple also. Decouple means how can we run the slot business without having live horse racing or without having live dog racing. That was not the intent when the legislators gave these permits out. The intent was to help an industry grow so that we would have two healthy industries, the casino business and the thoroughbred business or the dog business. And we intend to do that. And we believe that the subsidies, or what we call the slot revenues, as we talk about later on, will be beneficial. But at the racetracks and at the racinos around the country, we have seen a neglect in racing. You will not see that here. Maryland got it right. The 10-year deal that was initiated by Commissioner Quaid led a path perfect to invest, gave everyone from the Horsemen to the state some comfort that there would be some consistency in the schedule. Tracks are only rewarded for investment and growth, not allowed just to take money out of the system. Lake in Florida and other venues around the country, they have become racinos, and then they will become casinos someday. It allows us to push ahead and invest heavily in Maryland. We continue to invest at the highest levels. With the help of the RIFA and the incentives, we continue to do this. I'd like to talk about a few of the accomplishments, I think, in the time that we've been here. The handle is up nearly $60 million on our product. And as we talk later on, you'll understand why that is so important. So many people in Horsemen were so happy with the influx of casino slots into their purses, they forgot to take care of their business. They didn't care. They said, well, it's okay, we're getting the money. That's not how it works. OTB, our OTB network is being successfully looked at in building stronger as we strategically place OTBs that will not hurt live on-track racing, but create more jobs, more revenue, more handle for everybody. We're partnering, as an example, with the Horseshoe. So there is a way that we can live together with casino and racing. We have two different kinds of entities. We partner with them down there, and we've been very successful. In the first 6 months of our OTB at the Horseshoe, we've done $6 million. Our projections were 10, so we predict that we'll do somewhere between 12 to $15 million. Improvements to Pimlico, Laurel, front side and back side, very important. I want to talk a little bit about some of the improvements that some people have seen, touch on a few of what we expect to happen in the future too. I'll be brief and quick, but everybody that can walk around the facility can see that our commitment is here. We need a good facility to bring customers back to the track. We have to invest. We've neglected that for a long period of time. A couple of the big plans that we look for, and we hopefully can start to talk to our partners in the city and in the state about developing a paddock out back, right in the front of the building where the train station's connected. Howard County has plans to build a train station and a 1,000-car parking garage with a development. We would love to connect to that, utilize that, and to drive more people here on a daily basis from Baltimore and Washington, D.C. So we think that's a very positive input. We think that the buildings with these glass structures and closed in, doesn't put the fans close enough to the action. So we're looking for plans on how to move the glass back, how to make better suites, how to make sky boxes and sky suites, so that when people do come from these jurisdictions, they'll enjoy and understand the commitment we're making towards horse racing. And we are partners in this. You guys provide me good quality racing, good horses, nice breeding stock, and it is our responsibility to make sure we have a good environment for our customers. And as we move on, we'll understand more about that. We need to be vigilant. Don't want to happen what's happening to these other racinos around the country. We need to show the legislators our business is thriving. Slots contribute to economic growth, jobs, and green space. It goes back to what I was saying. We want to pop up two industries. We'd like the casino business to do good and create jobs and drive revenue, but we'd also like to continue to stay in business, not only stay in business, but thrive. And I think that's an important word. We need the state to understand that. We need the state to understand that the slot contribution is an investment and that we return more than we get performing well. Higher taxes by increased pari-mutuel revenue, not a declining business in need of charity. That model will not sell. When it comes down to giving us the money to help us pop up an industry or give it to schools someday, you know what the decision's going to be. So we got to become a viable economic business on our own. And that's why it's very important that we all work and we're ahead of this before those times come. We need to watch pari-mutuel handle grow. We need to see increases. We need to make our signal more relevant around the country. The reason I put it on the TV is I want people to understand that when you have a $40,000 purse and you do $100,000 in pari-mutuel revenue, you didn't pay for that purse. Things aren't going the right way. We need to all be invested in that. When I came here, I didn't see that the people understood that, didn't understand the economic component behind that. I think it's very important. There's $10 billion of pari-mutuel handle out there. We've done a good job at Gulfstream shifting that to us. That's one way to get it. The second way to get it is to try to grow the business. In the meantime, we'll do what we can to take our share of that and grow the business. That's how you sustain growth and get more for the product you're selling. The only way we can charge more for the signal, the only way we can sell our signal to people around the world is be a prominent signal, something that people wants to watch and want to bet on. We can't just say it's okay to have big purses that will not last. This is a call to action. We must show we are in a business that is about entertainment and customer driven. I'd like to touch on some strategy points on what I think we should be doing and what our responsibilities are. The track first. We should provide a safe environment for our customers. Safe tracks so that the horses compete. Renovations and consistent upgrades, not just one-time offs. You need to continue to do that. Good quality food. We need to drive customers here that enjoy having lunch and get a bunch of extra amenities with that. We need fair takeouts as the economic engine is the better. I want everyone to understand, and we will touch a little bit more on that. The better is a very important component to us. We all believe that we are the most important component. The jockeys believe the show won't go on without them. The owners believe that. The trainers believe that. But the bottom line is we'd be running for no money if it wasn't for the customers that are betting on this product and continue to bet on this product. We need them. And what we have to do is make sure that it's a fair environment and the takeout rates and the returns to them are fair, or they just will stop coming. Great stabling and living conditions, very important for the horses and for you, for the growth, to allow people to reinvest, to come down to the barns and be proud of where their horses are stabled, and living conditions for our grooms, the people that take care of these horses day in and day out. A wider network. We travel the world as at our expense, trying to sell your signal. And then we split revenues with you. We send people to France. We send people to Colombia. We send people to Peru and say, look at our product. We run a lot of grass racing. We run big fields. This is what you want, and come and buy our signal. We do this. We do this all the time, and it's very important to us. Why? Because racing is our number one business. The Stronach Group's number one business is racing. Highest level of integrity. This is an important, very, very important, on signal pricing and growing your handle. People don't want to read in the newspaper how somebody did something wrong, how some jockey did something last night, we are professional athletes, jockeys, the trainers. Everybody has to bring their A game. It's very important. We need to call out each other when we see cheaters. They're beating you. They're taking your money. We need to straighten out the game. And that's the only way that to show the signal pricing increase. Marketing initiatives. We need to really have strong marketing initiatives. We have been very weak there. Because what happens when the spiral is going the wrong way, the first thing you stop doing is marketing. Then you start cutting, and then you just continue in a downward trend. We cannot do that. We cannot allow that. But the first thing we had to do was renovate these facilities, because all the marketing in the world and bringing people out here, if we didn't give them a good experience, they wouldn't come back. So we think we're getting there. We're working very hard on the renovations, and we will unleash a serious marketing initiative in 2 cities, Baltimore and Washington. We have 10 million people in 50 miles. We only need a few of them to come by every day. The Horsemen. I need the Horsemen to support the program like they've been doing. Bring horses ready to run. Give them the best of care. Make sure they're competitive. Make sure they have a good home when they retire. We are under attack. You will not believe it, but in Florida, I can speak very highly of this. We are under attack from the casino companies. They got in. They're in our business now. They contribute to us. But you know what they consider us? They consider us a tax. And when they read the things that we do wrong, if the horses aren't being taken care of, if the trainers or jockeys aren't doing the right thing, then they basically go to the government and say, you know what, this game, why do we got to give them so much money? They're not doing the right thing. So it's very, very important. I need you to help me, because these attacks are true. They sit in the back and they don't say much, but they could attack you at any time. Be open-minded. Weed out the cheaters. Treat owners fair. Send the horses to the farm when they need a little time off. Be an ambassador of the game. Bring friends out, neighbors to the track to experience the great time. When you're at the track, don't bet on an ADW. Bet live on track. If you bet on an ADW, then you've just split your revenue with another company. There's no reason you can't walk up to the window, make a bet, and tell your owners that. I understand we all get a little bit of a rebate and this and that. Where do you think the rebate comes from? It comes from the purses, and it comes from the racetrack's commission. We own an ADW. It's great. When you go home, make your bets on your ADW to keep our game going. But in the meantime, come on out, visit the track, because without the crowds, without the excitement of the track, owners won't be spun and everything else. So we really need you to come out and enjoy yourselves. And be honest with me. When there's things that need to be done on the backside, come up and see me. We're approachable. Sal's one of the nicest guys in this industry. He's done a terrific job here, and we're so proud to have him on board. We hire racing guys like Sal and PJ to do that job. They're approachable. They love the game as much as you guys do. They are not in it just for a check. Breeders, continuing to improve the breed. Let's get good stallions here. Let's get good breeding. Tell your story to the Maryland legislators. Positive effect you will have in Maryland. Everyone needs to know that. We are a wide, diverse group of people. We live all over the state of Maryland. Everybody that has an interest in this game should be talking to their legislators and tell them what a great game it is, how cool it is. Come on out for Maryland Million. Come on out for the Preakness. Come on out to the racetrack and enjoy. And they understand the economic impact and the reach that this industry has. When we send those legislators to Annapolis and they're scattered from all over the state, our voice will be heard more clearer. All beautiful green space that you guys provide. We know your land's more valuable than a farm, but you love what you're doing and you have a passion. Bring all your friends out too to watch these great athletes that you provide us with. We will make sure they have a great experience. They could be your next potential buyers. Employees, the security guards, the valet parkers, the mutual tellers, everybody that customer service, food and beverage. This is very important. You guys are key. You are the key to our success here. The signal, yes, we do 90% of our signals are off track, but what would a racetrack be? What is a game with no fans? And more than that is you are growing the owners for these trainers, that if they have come out and have a good experience and are interested in how to get a horse, they will like the experience. They won't hide when they come out to the track and not tell somebody they're going to the track because they got one in. They'll be proud to come to the track. And if you guys do your job and we do our job and the horsemen do their job, then it will be a positive experience on them. Be positive. Give the customer a great experience. Be helpful. Help us make the business grow. Tell your friends and introduce them to the races. Word of mouth is the best marketing, along with great customer service. We've spent $10 million in Florida marketing. Then we do a big research study. A guy comes in and does a study for us, puts a big graph together. And then it says 80% of the people said they came here because someone told them it was really cool to be there. So the billboards and the TVs, they're all great. They're a call to action. People already know about us. But when people come here and have a good experience, they go home and tell people. And on Saturday morning when they get up with their wife or the kids or something to do, racing comes into their minds. This is very important. And if we do this, we will be successful and thrive again. We could see a Breeders' Cup here sometime in the near future. And in the end, if we do all this, we will, for sure. I'd like to, first of all, before I introduce the next speakers, and obviously we'll be taking a bunch of questions. I'm sure everybody has concerns of our industry, and we're willing to take all those questions. I'd really like to thank my food and beverage staff for throwing this evening tonight. There was no racing today, if everybody didn't know, but they came out and they provided us with the food that we're eating. I'd like to thank my employees for all the work they've done this last 10 months. I have been hard on a lot of these guys. I am a very hard driving boss, pusher, but I want to be successful. But I appreciate all the dedication, and I appreciate that you want to be on a winning team, and we want to change things around for the better. I'd like to thank the entire team. If I've missed anybody, please let you know that I appreciate you, and we will all be winners together. Before I pass on to Bruce Quaid, I'd like to thank the Horsemen for all the work together diligently we have done together, and the Racing Commission. I have never been in an environment in all the racing venues that everybody is working together to make things happen. So feel proud about Maryland racing, and I think the historic culture that we know has been here one time will come back if we all do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to offer a couple of brief comments and observations. As most of you probably know, the Racing Commission oversees basically all things racing, the finances, the licensing, the medication policies. We're the oversight arm of racing. Over the past few years, though, we've sort of, in addition to doing this regulatory function, we've begun to partner with all of the entities that Tim had mentioned, the Horsemen, the breeders, the track, and I believe the Commission, along working with the stakeholders, have come up with some really positive things, some of which Tim talked on. The 10-year deal, which I believe is the linchpin of our racing climate here, the breeder initiative, where our breeding program, our breeding bonus program for breeding winners races is second to none around the United States. We've instituted national medication policies. We've made inroads in health and safety of the equine athlete and the human athlete. So we've partnered with the groups that we regulate. One of the big impacts of this, and this is what I wanted to touch on mainly, is sort of the political implications of this. One of the things that racing had a bad image in Annapolis for a long time because we were always fighting among ourselves. Everybody was trying to compete for the limited resources that were there, and it's only been recently, since the advent of the 10-year deal, that we're down there speaking as one. And I think that goes a long way in perpetuating our sport in the state. We are dependent on the VLT revenue. And right now, I believe, and I've been told, that the view in Annapolis is we have got our act together as far as what we're doing. No one side of the industry, whether it be the track or the horsemen or the breeders, is getting any special treatment. That's been, as Tim mentioned, in a lot of other states. These states made that mistake. The money would go to one entity or the other. In Maryland, it's been doled out in a way that all parts of the industry benefit, and we're very proud of that. And because of that, I will say we have some delegates here, and I believe that there's a strong sense in Annapolis that racing does have its act together. The Commission is overseeing all of the things that are occurring. We've got the governor is not only a racing supporter, he's a racing fan. I talked to him at the Preakness. The First Lady was at the Black-Eyed Susan Day. Speaker Bush, President Miller have been longtime racing supporters, and we are in a good place in Annapolis, and that cannot be overestimated, the importance of our image in Annapolis. Tim said that all of the things that racing provides in our state, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry with its jobs, its taxes, its open space. One of the things that I say when I testify, that when you invest in Maryland, when the state invests in Maryland, they're getting back 5, 6, 7 to 1 on their money. That's pretty good odds. I'm a bettor, and that's pretty good odds. I'd like 7 to 1. When the money they're investing in our sport, they're getting back in spades because of the money that we're turning back. Let's see. Tim's hit on a lot of the things. I would like to encourage the stakeholders to continue to speak as one when we go to Annapolis and make sure that the momentum that we've got now continues. Finally, the last thing I want to say is I want to reiterate something that Tim said. The commitment that the Stronach organization is making in racing here is as Tim says, it's the top down. We've met with Frank Stronach personally a number of times over the past couple of years. We met with Alon Ossig, the CEO, and believe me when I say there is a complete corporate commitment to Maryland racing. The goal of making Maryland racing a world-class facility with world-class racing is started at the top and it's permeated all the way down. Tim is the Energizer buddy. He makes me nervous. The other day I was talking and I spent a day with him and it took me 2 days to recover because I was so tired out just hanging around him. But I want to emphasize that this is a long-term deal. This $20 million is great, but they're talking $100, $200 million. This place is going to be world-class, and I believe the Stronach Group is walking the walk. And with that, I believe that Maryland's racing days, the best is yet to come. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the MTHA, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight to listen to the Stronach Group's plan and vision for the future of racing here in the state of Maryland. You certainly don't have to look too far to see a lot of the changes that have already been made by the Maryland Jockey Club. Hundreds of new TVs, new flooring, new furniture, new paint, new food service. Even the windows in the grandstand have been cleaned for the first time in probably 15 or 20 years. So that's nice. In addition to these changes, the Maryland Jockey Club, the MTHA, has also instituted many changes as well in the last 12 months. Some of our accomplishments this past year have been a new Horsemen's healthcare system, free medical care for the Horsemen, and 24/7 access to the region's top medical network and MedStar Sports Medicine. We did this all by cutting costs and becoming much more efficient. The backstretch improvements, we've had recreation programs have been restored, have been instituted. We have established a new soccer league, softball league, bowling leagues. We have a backstretch pension plan that's fully funded. We have monthly backstretch community meetings to give a voice to the residents and improvement in the backstretch. We have a new mail room and a new rec room coming in the next couple of months, next month or so. Next year we have an expanded racing schedule. I'm sure everybody has seen that. We're now racing supposed to 150, or 2016 is 157 days, which is up about 15 from last year. We have also an aftercare program that's one like no other. We have given last year alone, we gave $110,000, has been distributed in Maryland-based thoroughbred retirement facilities. So we care about our horses and their second careers. With all these changes, they're just the beginning. Changes are never easy. Some of these changes and new ideas will work, and some of them will not work. One thing's for sure, that the changes will affect all of us. With changes come some sacrifices that we all must make and deal with in order for the new Stronach plan to work. As president of your MTHA, I can assure you that we're working very closely with management to make sure that the changes that are happening are in the best interest of the Horsemen. We meet with Tim and we meet with Sal once a week. We have questions or concerns. They're always right there to answer the questions or to rectify the problem. So when he says the door's wide open, it really is wide open. Tonight's your chance to ask questions. No rumors, no he said, she said, they said. If you have a question, I encourage you to ask it. Get the answers right from the source here. So with that, I think that's all I have.
I have no prepared remarks, I have to say. I just wanted to make sure that the breeders and the Maryland Million were able to stand up here tonight and say how happy we are and how proud we are of everything that's going on here, because the breeding industry is turning the corner. And Josh will tell you a little bit about that personally, but Jim Steele is the president of the Maryland Million. He's here. So we just want to say good job. Finally, it's working, and we're here to talk about it. I work for most of you or with most of you, so hopefully we'll continue on. But Josh, come on up, Jim, too.
Jim, come up. Good evening. I'm Josh Pons. My brother Mike and I own Country Life Farm up in Bel Air, and a number of you have either been to the farm or you're aware of it, but it's right in the middle of a lot of development. And Mike and I have had a hard time trying to get our kids to buy into the horse business, and we've discouraged them for a number of years. But the last 2 or 3 years, they've seen a recovery in their, not just on the number of horses being bred in Maryland, but the ability of their parents to kind of get up and get to work in the morning without just feeling like it's all for nothing. We were just getting hammered by competing states, and it's been great for us to, as a horse farm, we were founded in 1933. It's been in our family a long time, and it's really a matter of perseverance that we hang on. And I can tell you that 2011, 2012, it was the bottom of the breeding game. We had maybe 400 mares being bred in Maryland. Only 60% of the mares are going to have live foals, so we had a foal crop just below 300 in 2012, and that was the lowest point. And since then, we've climbed out, and there's renewed hope again, and you can feel that. The overlap between the breeding game and the racing game is very tight. We send horses to the track. We employ trainers. We have a good relationship with everyone at the track. And what we're seeing is that spreading from the Maryland Horse Breeders Association through the MTHA. We're working together more than we ever have before. When there's issues come up, we're joining hands, and it's a cool recovery. One of the important things in the bonus structure system as it's been redesigned is that no longer do you have to win a race. You can finish second and third and still get a breeder's award. And when I was growing up, lots of trainers had mares. Charlie Hadry always had mares. King Leatherberry's always had mares. And I encourage the trainers to consider how to help us breed better horses in Maryland. Last year, the report of mares bred for the state of Maryland, we bred almost 800 mares. It was 790 mares. That's a 100% increase from 2011 and 2012 when we were breeding 400. It's given us hope again, and I'm happy to see the Tim Ritvo, leading the charge and pushing everything along, and Commissioner Quaid's insight into how to keep the money that's in Maryland churning in Maryland. It's a really vibrant time to be involved in Maryland racing. And Annapolis, really, they want to see us keep it at home. So with that, as the head of the Maryland Horse Breeders Association, I thank you all for continuing to breed horses in Maryland. Thank you.
Jim Steele, president of the Maryland Million. I want to echo what Tim Ritvo said. We're all in this together, and we can have our little differences and we can fight, but I'll tell you what, we're either going to hang together or we're going to survive together. So we need to get behind everything and go forward. The Maryland Million this year was the 30th Maryland Million. Handle was up 37%. Attendance was up 5.5%. What more can you say? The tracks, the legislators, everybody is pulling together, and we need to keep this team online. It was a great time, and thank you so much.
Thank you to our panel of speakers from, obviously, the Maryland racing industry and Maryland breeders, Tim Ritvo, Tim Keefe, Bruce Quaid, Cricket Goodall, Josh Pons, and of course, Mr. Jim Steele as well. And with all of that concluded, we now open the floor up to really any questions. As Tim Keefe did mention, you have the source, all of them right here, so feel free to ask away. We do please, again, ask that you only limit yourselves to one question, 2 questions maximum. Stan is in the back of the room, Stan Salter, my co-host and the mic runner for the night, and I will have the other mic as well. So to start us off, who will be the first? Okay, right over here, Stan.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Kalinich, and I'm from Arnold, Maryland. I would like to ask about the 10-year plan and also the report that was submitted to the General Assembly by the Maryland Racing Commission, dated January 1st, 2015. I read that the 10-year plan included keeping both tracks open till 2024, and that there would be a review of this plan in 2021. I was wondering if anybody could confirm this information. And also stated in the plan, not in the plan, but the report submitted to the General Assembly on January 1st, 2015, it says, finally, the Maryland Jockey Club will soon announce a major capital program for Pimlico Laurel Park with a budget of $250 million. As a combination of new construction and revitalization, the project will be focused on substantially improving the Preakness experience in order to create a world-class event. With the construction of state-of-the-art suites, boxes, and premium dining areas. The program will also include other amenities to help revitalize Pimlico and the surrounding area. It is anticipated that the program will begin in the fourth quarter of 2015. We're now in the fourth quarter of 2015, and I'm wondering if there are any plans going forward to revitalize the community around Pimlico and Pimlico itself for the 2016 Preakness. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your question. I'll answer as much of it as I can, and then I'll pass on some of it to Bruce with the 10-year agreement and stuff. I can tell you that everything is absolutely on the table. We have done a deep dive and a full evaluation of both facilities. We have actually talked and have had negotiations with Sinai Hospital too about renovating the area and stuff like that. So there's been a lot of talk about that. The year-round racing with a schedule of 150 days, we have, after doing a lot of analysis and evaluation, is obviously Laurel will have the majority of racing. The Preakness and Pimlico is not in the environment that we want to have 200 days of racing there. We're not even sure the city would want something like that. We know that there has to be major renovations at both facilities for sure. We're on our way and we're started those. Those plans are being looked at, re-examined. We are a little bit behind from where we wanted to be at this time, but I can tell you now that corporate's main focus is on revitalizing Maryland racing in a whole, which means looking at Preakness and looking at Laurel and seeing what makes most sense and how we can do the investment. One of the issues that we did come up with at Pimlico, that you talk about the high-quality suites and boxes, is we found engineering issues that supposedly, I'm not an engineer, but that the ground is on dirt rather than foundation, and it's a lot harder to build and add on, where this has better bones and stuff like that. So with that said, it doesn't mean that won't be looked at, and for sure we have had talks with the city, with the state, of how can we make the Preakness experience, which we all know has to be better than what it is, to prove that Maryland's the highest standard in racing. And those are being looked at every single day and communicated. The one thing I can tell you is Gulfstream Park has moved and is moving in the right direction. All the renovations pretty much have been done. Santa Anita, same thing. So the corporate is focusing on Maryland, and that's one of the reasons we're having this meeting tonight. Bruce, maybe you want to touch on the agreement?
Yeah, I'm just going to address a little bit on the 10-year agreement. That's a living document. This is about our 4th year, is that right? The 4th year of the 10-year agreement. And so some of the things that are in there have to be adjusted. They have to, as I said, we have to be very vigilant to make sure that remains vibrant. For instance, this year, as Tim said, where the base deal calls for running about 146 days, now we're going to run 157. Some of the estimates on capital improvement, like 200 million, whatever, that's, unless Tim tells me different, that's kind of the numbers they're talking about. But all of those agreements and reports have to be constantly updated, examined, changed, and so those are targets. And the 10-year deal is doing fine, I think.
Okay, we have a question back here.
Yes, thank you. Oh, it's not a question, it's just a commitment to be a good partner. I'm 5th District Council, Baltimore City, and the racetrack is in my district, and I love horses. I like the smell of horses. I like everything about horses. I just want you to know that we've met with the people that are going to be making decisions, and we're partners, and we're committed to doing what we can to keep Pimlico a viable Preakness home.
And I'd like to say, Ricky, thank you very much. Sandy, thank you. We appreciate you coming over here, and that's what we're doing, is to look and work as partners to try to come up with the best solution of what we have in front of us. Thank you.
Anybody else over here? Hey, everybody. Glad to see a bunch of people out for my future. I would like to ask Mr. Ritvo, now, you were talking about weeding out the cheaters. Are you guys going to make a bigger commitment or maybe a lot stricter rules on like the banned substance uses? Because Maryland's had a serious problem in the past with trainers, not to name any name, Juan Vasquez banned from the state. You know, and it's very hard for like guys like my dad, Damon DeLodovico, to compete with that. Are you guys going to step it up or, right?
Yes, yeah. It's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it. I won a lot of races. I was a 10% guy, and it's kind of, you know, a little frustrating sometimes to see guys that were grooms last year and win at 40% for the next 2 years. So, yes, and we have stepped it up. If you talk to PJ or talk to Billy Badgett in Florida, when guys create miracles, we start putting cameras in their barn and tell them they don't need a night watchman. We'll watch it for you. We start looking at things like that, and we make sure. It's so important, the integrity. When I was over at Hong Kong and exploring their business model and stuff, the #1 thing was the integrity. So we definitely need a high-quality integrity to improve our signal. And I'll tell you, when you get a bad reputation, it doesn't leave you right away. It takes a long time. So it's very important to us here at Maryland. It's very important to us in Santa Anita, and it's very important to us at Gulfstream at all our properties. And we think it's a level playing field. And we've never seen Horsemen so united in wanting to see this happen. So if you're a 40% guy and I put a camera in your barn and we have a security guard checking on you, don't take it personal. We're just helping you out with the night watchman duty and stuff. So.
Got a question back here?
Hi, my name is Robert. First of all, I'd like to thank you for this forum, and I want to thank everyone for coming out. I found out about this meeting in the Little Business Week newspaper that we have in our local restaurants. Just as a little bit side history, this place means a ton to me. I rode my first race here, got my jockey's license here, came out under the great J.W. Murphy and Tommy Fields, a little bit heavier now. But racing is everything to me. I travel, I go to races, I go to the Breeders' Cup, I go to Keeneland, I go to Santa Anita, I go all around the country. I live right down the street in Fulton, and I never come here. And why don't I come here? It's not a pleasurable experience. Good horses bring out good purses, bring out good horses, bring out more fans. We know from the times of Rachel Alexander, we know AP, people will come out. Young crowd, we need the young crowd to come on out. So I'm happy that you were very transparent and you seem very honest on the negativities of what was going on. So I wish you a lot of luck in the venture, and I want to come back to here, and I want to enjoy myself here. My biggest question, though, I can have a thesis of questions, but my biggest question is, you have a ton of real estate out there. Is there any plan for selling off some of that real estate to help get a cash flow into this facility, into the purses, even into getting some real estate out sold for fine dining, something to make it more of a entertainment type scenario, sort of like Gulfstream you have down in Gulfstream. I mean, we have to bring in, the crowd is out here, people want to go, people have the money here, it's a per capita income is very high. You just got to present it. So it's just a question on about the real estate. And P.S., don't put a big horse here.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much, and you're the target customer that we're going after, somebody that's been here before, enjoyed their experience, and we want them to come back and see what we have to offer. We appreciate that. Second is, yes, we are looking at every aspect of how do we make, not just for the money that we need to invest into the facility, but how do you make and build a customer base around not just racing. As you mentioned, Gulfstream Park has done a really good job at it. There's a little bit, some things people like about it and some things people don't like about it. What we'd like to do here is try to preserve the historical value of this and Pimlico and still develop around the areas to make good restaurants, entertainment components. The one thing I don't like is when the last race goes off, everybody is running out the door to go somewhere to eat. Imagine if we had good restaurants and good venues attached to the facility, and we had the train station operating properly where people could stop on their way home from Baltimore to Washington for a few races. These are the things that we're going to work really hard on. I love this game. I have a great passion for it. I took this job not as a challenge. I know Maryland has it in it. The history and culture is here. I want to bring you back. I want to bring your friends back, and I want you to bring your kids to tell how special this place is to you and inside.
How you doing, sir? Just a quick comment. Just first of all, I'd like to just say thank you for all the efforts that you guys are putting into this place, because it was kind of ran down, and you guys are doing a wonderful, wonderful job. I just want to make that comment. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Pardon me, sir, in front of you. 12 o'clock. My name is Dr. Otis Cutler. I pastor a church in Baltimore, but I also represent about 700 churches throughout the state of Maryland in Annapolis. And so I'm here on behalf of the faith community to let you know that we're here to support Maryland racing. We realize how vital it is to the community. One of the past president's churches is actually right across the street from the Pimlico racetrack, and I am here on his behalf tonight to say we stand with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
One more question back here.
I'll say good evening. My name is Thomas Matthews, and I'm from the law community. I have two questions. My first question is, I come to the racetrack for one reason, really, to gamble different tracks or to bet different tracks. So my first question is, I'd like to know what's going on with the simulcasting of Penn National in Charlestown. And the other question is, maybe about a month ago, there was a memo that came out to say that you couldn't bring food into the establishment. But yet, when you're in here at 11 or 12 o'clock at night, your food concession stands are closing at 9. So I'd like to have those two questions addressed. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, sir. Yes, and first of all, we are working with Rosecroft. We are in an arbitration situation with the Horsemen now. We feel that we are getting closer to having those night signals. We believe they're as important to us as you want to see them. As far as the food component, one thing we had to do was we had to stop people from bringing in food because we were losing money on our food and beverage component. But the reason was people were bringing food in because the quality of food we were serving wasn't up to par. We've totally changed that. I hope everybody can see the difference. We've priced food where we want our own employees not to go out to lunch, but to eat here. And we're seeing that day in and day out. So as you see me walk through the building, tell me what you like about it, what you don't like about it. Tell Sal. We will address it. And when we get those complaints, we take them very seriously. We want you to be able to come in and get a really good meal at a reasonable price. That's Mr. Stronach's philosophy. Give them a good product at a reasonable price, and they'll continue to come back.
Question over here.
Yeah, my name is Robert Hawkins. I've been an all resident for 45 years. I am a track goer. I like betting on the horse. And I used to sweep up some hair for tips, and I always had a passion to cutting hair in a racetrack. So I just want to put it out there that I am a licensed barber. So I just want to put my bid in now. If you guys ever come across that situation, I want to just let you know that I'm here.
Well,
and
you
I
give
can cut
Gabby
all
your card.
ethnic hair.
You give
even
Gabby your
pets
card.
and even horses.
Yeah, we'd like to institute, listen, we want it to be cool to come back to the racetrack again. Get a shave, get a haircut, get your shoes shined. We got to get the people back here where it's exciting. You stop in for lunch, you get your shoes shined, you get a little shave. I mean, these are the things that obviously we think are important. They're a smaller component, but they add up as time goes by.
Hi, my name is Bill Reitler. I just had a comment. Since all the stakeholders are here tonight, I think we owe a tremendous gratitude to Commissioner Quaid. From somebody that's been on the onset from the whole thing on various boards, none of this would happen without his leadership. Thank you.
I'd like to just touch on that 1 second. Anybody that doesn't believe that, turn into the California Horse Racing Board meeting yesterday, the archive. You will not believe the difference of our meetings and their meetings. This is an unbelievable cooperative effort, and if it wasn't for Chairman Quaid and his commission, we would not be in the position we're in. This guy is incredible, and he's doing good things for the game.
Along those lines, I'd like to recognize some of my fellow commissioners are here, and I'd like to recognize them. This hasn't been a one-man show by any stretch. We have an active and proactive commission, and I'm proud to serve with these people. Commissioner Greco, stand up, please. Commissioner Hayden, Commissioner Bowman. Is anybody else? I choose not to recognize Commissioner Weinbrenner. Thanks to you all.
And I'd like to add one last thing on that. Once again, if anybody needs to watch a commission meeting, watch the Massachusetts Commission where they granted them 6 days of racing, and the ownership gets to keep 100% of the pari-mutuel revenue. These guys, they're here in the meeting today because they care. They're invested in thoroughbred racing. Thank you.
Okay, back here.
My name is Gus Papa, and I'm an avid horse player. There's rumors circulating that Pimlico will not accept any more wagering bets, but most of it will be done at Timonium, primarily the simulcast wagering. Can you shed some light on that?
Yes, I can. Pimlico is going to be accepting wagering. Pimlico is not closing. We are looking strategically to place OTBs around the state. Timonium is one of the sites that we are looking at. We just think it's a good population, and they already have a race meet there that does okay. So we're looking to add that to the additional. But Pimlico will be open for business.
I have another question. Are you giving any thought to upgrading the betting machines that will accept currency?
100%. We're so far behind on that. We take once again, not to retract what I said, but we take 100% responsibility for our lack or our failure in different areas. The tote machines are outdated. But the problem is with the industry is, as the spiral was going the wrong way, nobody reinvested. Now we see everything going in the right direction. We need to upgrade. We need to invest, and we're doing that heavily. California, Santa Anita just got an entire upgrade in tote systems. We put about 2,000 machines out there. It takes a little while to make these. The technicians that make these aren't the guys you get out of college today. They're a little bit older, and we're trying to figure out how to get the younger guys involved in the younger technology.
Hi, I'm Marlon Gibson. Been coming to the track for a long time, since Bowie was open. Before that, I cut my teeth at Rosecroft because that's the area I grew up in. I applaud you guys. You've done so many positive things from the renovation of the facilities to bringing summer racing back to Maryland. But one thing I see that I don't like is it looks like you all are getting ready to shutter the terrace dining room. That's where I like to go. Now, I understand, yeah, we're going to be open for Thanksgiving, but there's no place at this track that's got a better view, and a lot of people want to go to the terrace dining room. It seems like everybody all of a sudden is being shuttered down on the first floor. I was on an airplane the other day. It's like being at BWI when everybody's shuttered down onto the first floor, and not everybody wants to be shoehorned down at tips. Is the terrace dining room done?
No, it's not. And one, I appreciate you coming out. I see you upstairs, and I'm glad you enjoy the experience from up there. It's basically just shifting around to get things right. We're going to spend a lot of money. We want to drive business here. It's like when we have to do a little layoff of the tellers or the valet parkers. Nobody likes that. Sometimes we have to take a step back before we make a step forward. And that's kind of what we're going through now. We'll be shifting people around in different areas. And I know people like their certain areas. We're going to try to do the best we can to accommodate them. But the bottom line is to grow our business so that we're hiring more people, have more areas for people to sit, and continue to give the customer the experience that you're looking for. I appreciate that. We don't want to live in the simulcast world. That's why we want to take the glass down, open it up, get the people to smell and breathe and see the horse racing. Those are the things that are important to us. Thank you.
Back here, guys.
I think the young lady that took over down at Horseshoe, I think she's done an excellent job. The place is clean. You can actually get up and go to the bathroom and come back and your program still be there. She's gotten rid of a lot of riffraff. Now, you're talking about Pimlico. You got to have a Kevlar vest just to walk in the bathroom down there, all right? It's no joke. To walk to your car, you don't feel comfortable. I don't care if you're white, black, green, or yellow. It's an unsafe feeling out there. You know, you people constantly begging for 50 cents, a cigarette, or ride this or that. You can't even leave a pen sit down, and you turn your head and it's gone. That first floor is out of control. And that's why people are hoping for Timonium, so that we can go out there. I'd much rather go. Look, our family started with Charlie Lewis. Over the years, we've had 20 or 30 horses. We've been in the game. I went to school with the Ponzes and the Hopkins. I've had a lot of fun with racing. But when people don't feel safe, that's a different ingredient that you haven't mentioned yet. Okay?
Oh, thank you, and we agree. I mean, we have to look at those components as we decide on a business plan moving forward. Obviously, Mike Singletary, who's our chief of security, he will take that serious. We want our customers to feel safe so they come out to the track and return. And if that's not happening, then we got to really address it and take a look and see what we can do to improve that, working with the city and working with the police department and everybody else to try to make that experience a little better. Unfortunately, neighborhoods change in times of where the locations of the tracks are. We just have to make an adjustment on our program to try to make everybody comfortable.
One more back here.
Yes, my name's Reggie Wickham. I was a horse owner. I've been a gambler here in these different tracks in Maryland for 50 years. There's three things I'd like to bring to y'all's attention. First of all, it's about you lose an average of 100 bettors a night from this area going to Rosecroft to bet Penn National and Charlestown, and this subject was brought up. On the weekends, I go there because I want to bet Charlestown. Sometimes I'm here too. You lose 250 people. That's just something for you guys when you're negotiating. The third thing I like to bring up, over the last 4 or 5 years, I've noticed on the back of the overnights that people that are stabled in the stables here cannot run their horses at Charlestown. Horses, as they get older, they have issues. Some of them can't run more than 4.5 furlongs. Yet the owner of this company, Stonic, runs his horses up there. So how does he rate preference over horsemen that support this community here and the track? Why can he run his horses there? And these local guys, trainers, I know a lot of these guys in here, why can they not run their horses up there and not be penalized by losing their stalls?
Great questions. Thank you. First of all, Jose Corrales, who ran at Penn National, Charlestown the other night, I gave him a call myself and asked him what he was doing. Did he not have a race here? But, I mean, first and foremost, we'd obviously like people to run at the facility that's housing the horses, that give the electric and the water. If there's not races, I believe Georgianne Hale is one of the fairest racing secretaries, maybe a little too fair sometimes, and allowing people to run at other venues. I mean, the bottom line is we try to accommodate the people to run here, and if they can't, then of course they're allowed to run their horses in other venues. And, I mean, those are the things that we try to do and try to institute and try to be fair. The truth of the matter is, when Jose ran that horse the other night, he got a phone call. It was a $7,500 race, maiden race. I told him if he wasn't good enough to compete here, maybe he should think about selling the horse or getting rid of him. So, I mean, everybody is treated fair, from my wife who trains horses, and PJ gives her a hard time whether how many stalls she gets, depending on what she's running, to all Mr. Stronach's horses. Now, as far as the signal at night, very important to us. We're trying to get it back. It's not completely our fault. We know the product is good. We know people want to bet on it. We don't want you to leave. We want to be able to have the food and beverage component and the experience here and at Pimlico, why these races are run. So we think we're close. We think we're close to seeing something happen there. And I hope within the next few weeks we'll have those signals back on. Thank you for being here.
Question over here.
My name is Dave Maselli. I live in Abington, Maryland. First of all, I want to thank those responsible for having this buffet and this town hall meeting. I'm a very casual horse race goer. Last time I was there at Maryland Horse Race, it was Maryland Million 2004. And, you know, I'm a $2 bettor, but I love horse racing. And I've had the privilege of meeting Mr. Terry Hazelton, who's the sports director of Maryland Sports. And I've told him twice, and I want to suggest it to you all, I would love to see the Maryland Million hit 60,000 attendance. But to me, it's in the wrong time of the year. You have 7 universities playing football any given Saturday. They're not all at home at the same time. When I went to the Maryland Million, the Renaissance project was being, you're competing against a lot of sports people who are spread out. I don't know the formula of how many baseball or football or whatever fans would go to the racetrack. But as I've looked at the calendar, I think that the last Saturday in April should be the kickoff of horse racing, not only in Maryland, but also try to work it into nationally. Make it the first game of the World Series, if you will, of horse racing nationally. And if later, if I have another opportunity, I have another question, please.
You know, we always look at the schedule. We take that very serious. I mean, Sal's a horseman. He knows. PJ Campo, these guys look at the racing schedule all the time, try to figure out what's best. We introduced summer racing here that hasn't been for 10 years. And we thought by doing that, we would balance out the calendar and go longer. We're looking to add days all the time if the purse account can sustain it. We want to run 200 days a year. We want to have 5 or 6 huge event days. Where they go in the calendar is a trial and error. We just came into town. We're hoping that we can look at all that stuff. But we look at that. We want to beat the numbers from last year. Then we'll want to beat those numbers again next year. Gulfstream Park has 5 years of growth over growth. That's not easy to do every single year. And you do it by positioning different races. You do it by adding to the race schedule. These are things we're looking at all the time. We appreciate you back, and we love the $2 better. If we got a bunch of them here, we'd be better off. Thanks.
One more question back here, and just a reminder, we only have time for just a few more questions, but Gary Quill.
This is for Mr. Ridvo. Little biography first. My name's Gary Quill. I live in Harford County. I'm a 4th generation horse racing fan and bettor. I'm an IT professional by trade. I also referee basketball in the county. I referee soccer in the county. With my spare time, I volunteer to write a blog for the past 10 years. I started with Baltimore's WNST, trying to promote Maryland horse racing. I moved on to horseracing.nation.com, and this past year I've joined up with the Racing Biz and developed the GQ approach for picks. With all that said, like it or not, our younger generation of fans are tech savvy. They're online bettors. Since the Stronach Group owns Santa Anita, is there any plans for Maryland racing to get into the online handicapping contest like the Showviver or anything like that, because I think that's what will bring the handle up, because folks who bet online, when they want to figure out what horse to bet or whatever, obviously they're just not going to put in their bet online for the contest. They're going to look at other races.
Yes, for sure. Sal's an IT guy too. He developed Encompass that every racetrack uses around America. So for sure, we need to explore those. We have and have been exploring those. Belinda Stronach, who is Mr. Stronach's daughter, has got companies looking at all the social media aspects and the IT aspects. And yes, we agree. People are more engaged on their iPhones. That's actually one of the reasons we consolidated and sold HRTV to TVG, was to concentrate on a web interaction that will be rolling out pretty soon, so that more races are being watched on your iPhone, technology, bets, providing information. The one thing that we didn't touch on, and there's so much to touch on, is that we want to provide the customer here with as much instrumental knowledge that we can to create winners in churn. The difference between us and a casino is the minute you walk in that casino, you have a time lifespan on you. They want to figure out how they're going to get your money. In pari-mutuel wagering, with super technology and information, you could actually beat the other guys. It's a poker game that we run, that we just basically take a small share to make sure the game is on an honest level. So the technology piece is huge. We know it. We got to get into that space to try to create more business. And thank you for your help.
Okay, we want to get as many questions as we can. So if you can, please allow Gabby and I to hold the microphone. It'll just help us expedite the process a bit.
Hi, how are you? I was wondering next summer when we go to summer racing, if we're going to try, if per se that Virginia runs and Delaware runs, are we going to compete head to head with all them, or are we going to try and work with them so that we're not running, diluting our fields by people running elsewhere?
Great question. I'm glad it was asked. I forgot to mention it. We continue to work with Virginia or Delaware to try to come up with a cooperative race schedule. We know that's best. We want to get to 200 days. The one thing we want to do is we want to lead the ship, though, because we feel the Stronach Group is more committed than any of the other venues at this time. And we are the ones that will sit down with them and talk to them, but we're not going to give everything away. We're going to make the best possible deal we can make that's in the best interest of Maryland racing and the Maryland Horsemen and the breeders. If they want to come along, we're a big company. We leverage our assets, where when Gulfstream's running, in the program for Gulfstream is Laurel and Santa Anita. When Laurel's running, Gulfstream's in the program. When Santa Anita's running, Laurel. We try to sell our signal and leverage our assets. So we're definitely not just going to open up our doors and say, you guys run wherever you want to run. We're willing to talk with them. We're willing to talk with Virginia. We're willing to talk to Delaware. We're willing to work out a cooperative race schedule, but it will benefit Maryland racing first.
Back here.
Hi, Tim. Ernie Greco. First, I totally agree with you when you said a lot of the success out here is due to the employees here, that they're doing the work, and I agree 100%, because we participate, and I think your tellers and your security folks and all of them are exceptional employees, and I hope you treat them good. But my question is, I know the clientele between Laurel and Pimlico is really different. I go to Pimlico a lot, and quite frankly, there's more people that look like me that have gray hair. Do you have anything, and you mentioned a little bit just a couple of minutes ago about a poker game and stuff. I believe this industry needs to attract a younger group of folks. Poker, I know, is a big thing with young men and women, and they like to, it's gambling. Horse racing is gambling. If we have poker, maybe we could bring them in here and then teach them how to handicap and see if we can build it up. My question is, do you have any plans to get young men and women more involved in the game?
Yeah, Ernie, thank you first of all, thank you for your help on the commission, and thank you for your question. I was a jockey. I was a young guy. My dad used to went to the track. He was a diehard, and he said to me, you know, this game, I don't know, there's only old people coming to the game. Well, I was a kid then, and you know what? There's still old people coming to the game, unfortunately. I mean, what happens, and not that we're going to give up on that, we want the young guys to come out and have a great experience, we think. We think they need to see a good place where they can have lunch, come out with their girlfriend, enjoy the experience. Do we think they're the diehard bettors? No, not yet. One, they need to go to school. Two, they have a family. They'll raise their kids. They'll pay their bills. But then what I want to do is have them come back after they had that good experience. So that's kind of a little bit of what my thought is around that. Do I have any clear, decisive marketing initiative for a young person to come to Pimlico at this time? Not yet, Bernie, but everything is on the table. I'm looking to drive people to the racetrack so we can keep these guys working and more people. And I'd like to touch on the workers for a second. Yeah, I think it's very, very, very important. It's an integrate part of us being successful. They are the frontline employees. And I didn't write this, I had talked about it, but I didn't write it in my head, is that we all have issues. Everybody that works here, when we're home, we have the kids are acting up or somebody's doing something, you stayed out too late, your wife's mad at you. When you come to work, you got to kind of check that. As employees, we have to check that because other people that come here are trying to get away from that. And the last thing they want to see is a grouchy valet parker, a grouchy security guard or something like that. So it's not easy. We have to put on a show. We have to act for them. And I think these guys are doing a terrific job doing that. I just want to call on everybody as we continue to grow and want to bring people back. We need you to go over and above on those efforts. And then, as we become profitable in the Mr. Stronach world, everybody shares in that. I know people will look back and say, we haven't had lots of raises, we haven't had a lot of... Well, the model's been broken. We haven't done a good job. This is not the U.S. government where you do a bad job and you get rewarded. If we're losing $5 million, you just can't get a bonus. What we're going to do is we're going to drive business and then we're going to reward people properly, like we've done at Gulfstream Park, where we grew a business that was negative to a very big positive number, and everybody there shares in it.
Over here.
Before I have an observation. It sounds like with the people are really old at the racetrack, a soundbite could be, if you want to get old and live for a long time, come to the racetrack. So.
Okay. Over here.
Hi, my question is for Mr. Ritville. Just by way of introduction, my name is Ed Bucksbaum. I own several horses stabled here at Laurel that are running on the Maryland circuit. An observation and a question. One, as a racing fan, we have one of the jewels of sporting events in the country in our backyard. The Pimlico, while I acknowledge all that you say, the Preakness belongs at Pimlico and should stay there. That being said, my question is, in the short term, what are you going to do to address that day of the year when we have so many opportunities to get racing fans involved, and yet the facility is a disaster?
It's a great question, and we're going to do everything we possibly can to make it a good experience. If anyone was at the upstairs where we took out the wall last year, there was a simulcast facility and got people to look at the track. We'll continue to upgrade the TVs. Actually, as everybody knows, we get RIFRA funding from the state on improvements. And just last week when we put in our RIFRA with the Racing Commission, we put in more money. It's hard to believe we put in more money for Pimlico than we did for Laurel at the time. So we'll do the best we can, but it's a very good point. We are kicking the can down the road. We need to look at a master plan, and we have with Ricky and Sandy on how to, with the city and with the mayor and with the governor, of what the master plan will be. Because last year was the plumbing, next year might be the electricity, and all these issues that continue to come up have to be addressed. So it's a struggle. Anybody in the world would like to run the Preakness for a 30-day meet, any Fortune 500 company would come in and tear it down and build a beautiful facility. But what I'm trying to do for everybody that's in this room is afford racing 200 days a year. So the Preakness is a subsidy that we get that's within our industry, but it's to take care of racing for the entire year, not just for those 2 days for someone to come in and get the money.
Tim, back here, we have 2 questions.
Yes, good night. My name is Donovan Horton. I'm a trainer. I would like to ask you 2 questions, Mr. Whitford. I would like to know what is the future for Bowie Racetrack. And secondly, you're building a lot of new barns, and you're going to have more horses coming in, more people coming in. So I want to know if you're going to build more restroom for the grooms.
Okay, I'll go backwards. First of all, yes, there are plans, and they're in my office, of new dormitories, as the barns are being built out and replace the old dormitories, make sure the restrooms and everything are up to par. Once again, I use Gulfstream as an example because that's where I was. If anybody goes on the website and looks at Gulfstream for the living conditions for the people on the backside, they're amazing. It's important to Mr. Stronach. He knows where he came from, and he makes sure that those people are taken care of. As far as Bowie is in our big plans. We just haven't decided in which direction. Right now, it's only used for overflow horses, which we do not have. So there was no reason to be training horses at Bowie and at Laurel and at Pimlico while we have these. So we were looking at some consolidation of services. But as time goes by, and hopefully as we grow business, we may need it as a training center someday. We may not. But the idea is, like anybody that has a barn full of horses, 20 horses, if I asked you to bring 5 to Bowie, 5 to Pimlico, and 10 to Laurel, you'd say, why would I do that? It's the same reason we're looking at it. If we can consolidate everybody into one area, it saves a lot of money, and it's the right thing to do. So, thank you.
Question back here?
Hi, I'm April Smith from Baltimore County, and I was very dismayed to see that the racing days at Pimlico were shortened. I remember when the meet would end at Preakness Day, and finally you realized you were missing a bet and began to have it as long as the Belmont. But now you're going back to it being shorter again. Those of us in Baltimore County, Harford County, and Pennsylvania find coming to Laurel a real hassle. Pimlico could be beautiful. Pimlico is the historic home of the Preakness. You can't just move the Preakness somewhere else. It's like taking Lincoln's box out of Ford's Theater and moving it to the Kennedy Center. You lose all meaning, all history, all tradition. Pimlico, I know, has its issues with its neighborhood. It's getting better. There are many dedicated people in Baltimore City that want to see the Preakness stay there. I just would hope that there's some guarantee that Pimlico will survive.
Well, I can tell you, I've been in Baltimore in some of those meetings with Sandy, with the local community. You're right. There's a great passion there for horse racing. It's historic. We will not put that aside as we make our decisions and make the best judgments and work with the community. We all agree, though, that the facility itself needs serious upgrades, which are very hard to do on the current infrastructure. So we might have to look at a big-term plan, which we're going to work on. As far as shortening up the meet a little bit, what we did is realigned it a little bit from a business perspective, just to give you an understanding that when the Kentucky Derby is running simulcast and the Preakness is open, Laurel outperforms how much is bet at Pimlico. So we thought, as we waited and looked at it, that we shifted the schedule a little bit. That's one. The second aspect of it was when we ran a little bit too much leading up to the Preakness, we did a little bit more damage to the grass course. We did a little more damage, and there was so much infrastructure being built leading up to the week of the Preakness. We thought that if we weren't running in front of the Preakness, the experience for what we could do is going to be better because we can work longer hours and get things done. So, but nothing's etched in stone. We're trying things. Like, one thing's for sure, status quo wasn't working. So we're looking at all the other aspects of what can we do to make Maryland racing great again as a whole. And we respect the heritage of Pimlico.
Once again, thank you all for coming out here this evening, and just pause, take a look around you, look at the size of this room and all of the people in this room as well, and all of us have one goal, and that's just to care about Maryland racing and the success of the future as well. So once again, thank you for all of our speakers tonight. Thank you for all of those with your concerns, your comments, your questions. They were absolutely fantastic. And for a closing remark, we go back to Chief Operating Officer of the Stronach Group, Tim Ritvo. Once again, thank you all for coming out.
And I'll be very brief. Thank you very much for coming here. We really appreciate it. The enthusiasm for everybody to show up and come is exciting. This is what we want. Just think there's 300 and something people here. If everybody brought a couple friends to the races and saw the new experiences that we're trying to lay out for them, come to me, see me, talk to Sal. We're approachable. We want to talk about all issues to make it better. We ask that you put aside your individual concerns and look at the greater concerns of the industry in a whole. And I think that will make us successful, and we'll get back to national prominence that I promised and talked about. Thank you very much.